You're being robbed every time you buy those little green propane bottles. In fact, you're paying almost 7 times more for the container than the actual fuel inside. But today, I'm going to show you exactly how they're ripping you off, and more importantly, how to stop it. By the end of this video, you'll know the real cost of these bottles, discover safer and cheaper alternatives, and learn the exact step-by-step process to refill them legally and safely, potentially saving you hundreds of dollars a year. Welcome to Prep Pantry, where we help you prepare smarter, not harder. If you're tired of wasting money on overpriced gear and want real, practical survival and camping tips, hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss out. Let's talk about why we all fell in love with these little green canisters in the first place. If you've ever gone camping, hunting, or put together an emergency kit, you know exactly what I'm talking about. These 1-pound propane bottles are everywhere. They're small, lightweight, and fit perfectly in your backpack. You can grab a handful at any big box store, toss them in your gear, and forget about them until you need to fire up your camp stove or lantern. The convenience factor is undeniable. They don't take up much space, they're easy to transport, and they work with almost every portable camping device on the market. For a weekend camping trip or occasional use, they seem like the perfect solution. No heavy tanks to lug around, no complicated setups, just screw one on to your device and you're cooking or heating in seconds. But here's where things get interesting, and not in a good way. That convenience you're paying for, it comes with a price tag that should make your jaw drop. In many areas, a single 1-pound bottle costs upwards of $5.47. Even when you buy them in bulk, the price per bottle stays painfully high. And this is where most people never do the math, but we're about to. Let's compare this to filling a standard 20-pound propane cylinder. At current rates, you're looking at about $3.29 per gallon for propane. A 20-pound cylinder holds 4.6 gallons, so filling it completely costs around $15.13. Now, when you break that down by the pound, you're paying roughly 76 cents for the actual fuel itself in that big tank. Stay with me here because this is where it gets crazy. With that 1-pound bottle you just bought for $5.47, you're still paying that same 76 cents for the actual propane fuel inside. But you're paying an additional $4.71 for the disposable container. Let me say that again. You're paying almost 7 times more for the packaging than you are for the fuel. Think about that for a moment. If you're stockpiling fuel for emergencies or planning to use these for any extended period, you're literally throwing money away. You're not paying a premium for better fuel or higher quality propane. You're paying a massive markup for a thin metal can that you're supposed to throw away after one use. And here's another painful reality check. Let's say you're using a standard buddy heater to keep warm during a power outage or on a cold camping night. If you run that heater on high, a single 1-pound bottle will be completely drained in just 3 hours. 3 hours. If you're facing a winter storm that knocks out power for days, or you're on a week-long hunting trip, you'll burn through your supply so fast your wallet will be crying. Let's do some quick math on that scenario. If you need heat for just 1 day at 8 hours, being conservative, you're looking at least 2.5 bottles. That's almost $14 per day just to stay warm. For a week, you're spending close to $100 on fuel alone. Compare that to running the same heater off a 20-pound cylinder, and you'd spend a fraction of that cost. So what's the alternative? Well, a lot of people have figured out a smart workaround. You can use a full-size 20-pound cylinder with an adapter hose. These hoses are inexpensive and readily available at any hardware or camping store. You simply connect one end to your 20-pound tank and the other end to your heater, stove, or whatever device you're running. The benefits here are massive. You get exponentially more runtime for a fraction of the cost. That 20-pound tank that costs $15 to fill will run your buddy heater on high for roughly 45 to 50 hours. Compare that to the 3 hours you get from a 1-pound bottle, and the math becomes crystal clear. You're looking at 15 times the runtime for less than 3 times the cost. But here's where this solution hits a wall. Some devices, particularly propane lanterns and certain smaller heaters, are specifically designed to use the 1-pound bottle as a base. The bottle screws into the bottom and provides stability for the entire unit. There's no practical way to connect a large hose to these devices. You could try jury-rigging something, but you'd compromise the stability and safety of the unit. For these specific applications, you're stuck needing small bottles. So we're back to square one, right? Either pay the ridiculous markup on disposable bottles or don't use certain devices. Well, not quite. This is where refilling comes into play, and it's a game changer if you do it correctly. People have been refilling these disposable 1-pound bottles for years. You can pick up a refill adapter at most big box stores for around $10. After refilling just a few bottles, you've already recouped your investment. The savings are substantial. Instead of paying $5.47 per bottle, you're paying that 76 cents for the fuel, saving almost $5 every single refill. But here's the uncomfortable truth that a lot of people don't talk about. Refilling those standard disposable bottles comes with real risks. First, the metal is thin, really thin. These bottles are designed and manufactured for single use. They're not built to withstand the stress of repeated filling cycles. Over time, that repeated pressurization can weaken the metal, increasing the risk of rupture or failure. Second, most disposable bottles don't have any rust inhibitor coating on the inside. Every time you refill, you're introducing a small amount of moisture into the bottle. That moisture leads to internal rust, which compromises the integrity of the container even faster. You might not see it from the outside, but inside, corrosion is eating away at the metal walls. And third, and this is the part nobody wants to hear, refilling standard 1-pound disposable bottles is not legal for transport. Now, enforcement is rare. I'm not going to pretend that propane police are pulling over every pickup truck with refilled bottles in the bed. The reality is, if you're obviously using them for camping or emergency purposes, chances of getting caught are extremely low. But technically, it's against regulations, and it's worth knowing that before you decide to do it. Many people refill these bottles dozens of times without incident. I'm not going to stand here and tell you the sky is falling, but the risks are real. The metal is thinner, there's no rust protection, and structural integrity degrades with each cycle. You're gambling that your bottle won't fail at an inconvenient or dangerous moment. So what's the solution? How do we get the convenience and portability of 1-pound bottles, the cost savings of refilling, and do it both safely and legally? The answer is refillable 1-pound propane bottles that are specifically designed and certified for repeated use. These aren't your standard disposable bottles with a fresh coat of paint. Manufacturers have created purpose-built refillable bottles that address every concern we just discussed. First, they're constructed with thicker, heavier-duty metal that can withstand repeated filling cycles. Second, they feature rust inhibitor coatings on the inside to prevent corrosion from moisture. And third, this is the big one, they're DOT certified, meaning they're legal to refill, transport, and use. Most of these refillable kits come complete with everything you need. You get the heavy-duty refillable bottle, a stand for your 20-pound cylinder, and a special refill adapter. One popular option that gets consistently good reviews is the Flame King refill kit. It's well-built, reliable, and designed specifically for this purpose. Yes, the upfront cost is higher than a simple adapter. You're looking at around $30 to $40 for a complete kit versus $10 for a basic adapter. But you're getting legal, safe, reusable bottles that will last for years. After a dozen refills, you still saved a massive amount compared to buying disposables, and you're doing it without the safety concerns or legal gray area. Now, let me walk you through exactly how to refill these bottles safely. This process works whether you're using a refillable bottle or taking your chances with a disposable one, but obviously I'm recommending you use the proper equipment. First and most important, you must do this outside. Never ever refill propane bottles indoors or in enclosed spaces like garages or sheds. Propane is heavier than air and will accumulate at ground level if there's a leak. In an enclosed space, you're creating a potential bomb. Always work outdoors where any escaping gas can dissipate safely. Before you start, put on protective gear. You need gloves, eye protection, and long sleeves. When propane escapes during the refilling process, it's extremely cold and can cause cold burns on exposed skin. It's also under pressure, so if something goes wrong, you don't want it spraying into your face. Here's how you set up the equipment. Take your 20-pound cylinder and place it upside down on the included stand. This is crucial. The tank needs to be inverted so you're drawing liquid propane, not vapor. But here's an important warning. Don't leave it upside down for more than 10 minutes. Keeping it inverted too long can cause issues with the safety valve. You're going to flip it, fill your bottles, and flip it back. Attach the refill adapter to the tank, making sure the fill nozzle faces downward. This keeps your refillable bottle upright during the filling process, which is the correct orientation. Everything should feel secure and tight. Any looseness means potential leaks. Now take your Allen wrench and insert it into the bleeder valve opening. Turn it counterclockwise about a quarter turn to open the valve. This bleeder valve is critical. It's how you'll know when the bottle is full. Leave the wrench in place during filling. Open the main valve on your 20-pound cylinder. You should hear propane start to flow. Now press the trigger on the refill adapter.
propane will begin flowing from the large tank into your small bottle. You'll hear it rushing in, and the bottle will start to feel cold as it fills. Keep your attention on that bleeder valve. As the bottle fills, you're watching and waiting for propane to start escaping from the bleeder. The moment you see or smell propane coming out of that valve, the bottle is full. Immediately turn the Allen wrench clockwise to close the bleeder valve. This step is critical. The bleeder prevents overfilling, which is a serious safety hazard. Once the bleeder valve is closed, shut off the main valve on your 20-pound cylinder. This stops any additional propane from escaping. Now you can disconnect the bottle from the adapter. Unscrew it carefully. Some propane will likely escape briefly, and that's completely normal. Don't be alarmed by the hissing sound or the cold mist. It's just residual pressure equalizing. Remove the adapter from the large tank, then flip your 20-pound cylinder back to its upright position. Remember, we don't want it upside down for extended periods. Get it back on its base as soon as you're done filling. Here's a crucial final step that many people skip. Check for leaks. Mix some dish soap with water in a spray bottle and spray it generously around the top of your refilled bottle, particularly around the valve connection. Watch carefully for bubbles. If you see bubbles forming, you have a leak. Don't use that bottle until you've resolved the issue. If there are no bubbles, you're good to go. Reattach the protective cap to your refillable bottle. This protects the valve from damage when the bottle isn't in use. Take that Allen wrench and either tape it back to the bottle or cap or store it in a safe place. If you have young children, you might want to store it separately to prevent them from playing with the valve. Your refillable bottle is now ready for use. It works exactly like any disposable bottle. Just screw it into your lantern, heater, or stove and you're ready to go. The difference is when it's empty, you'll refill it again instead of throwing it away. Let's talk strategy for a moment. Despite everything we've discussed, 1-pound bottles still have their place. They're ideal for portable devices that require the bottle as a base, those lanterns and small heaters we mentioned earlier. They're also perfect for short trips when you don't want to carry a large cylinder. And for emergency grab-and-go kits, having a few charged bottles ready to use makes sense. But for extended use, for heating your space during a power outage, for cooking at a base camp, anything where you're in one location for a while, that 20-pound cylinder with an adapter hose is your best bet. It's more economical, more efficient, and gives you dramatically longer runtime. Store your large cylinder outside. Run a hose through a window for safe indoor use, and you've got the best of both worlds. You're getting the cost savings and extended capacity while maintaining safety. Just make sure that hose is in good condition. Check it regularly for cracks, wear, or damage. There's also an environmental angle here that's worth mentioning. Every disposable propane bottle you throw away ends up in a landfill. They're made of metal, they've contained pressurized fuel, and they're not something you can just toss in your recycling bin in most areas. By switching to refillable bottles, you're not just saving money, you're reducing waste and your environmental impact. A properly maintained refillable bottle can last for years. Some people use the same bottles for a decade or more. Think about how many disposables that replaces. Multiply that by the number of campers, hunters, and preppers out there, and the waste reduction becomes significant. So here's the bottom line. Those little green 1-pound propane bottles are convenient, portable, and wildly overpriced. You're paying a massive premium for packaging, not fuel. If you're using them regularly, you're hemorrhaging money unnecessarily. The smart approach is threefold. First, use 20-pound cylinders with adapter hoses whenever practical. You'll get exponentially more runtime for your money, and it's perfectly safe when done correctly, with the tank outside and the hose running through a window. Second, for devices that require 1-pound bottles, invest in proper DOT-certified refillable bottles and a quality refill kit. Yes, there's an upfront cost, but you'll recoup it quickly and enjoy safe, legal refills for years to come. And third, always prioritize safety. Work outdoors, wear protective gear, follow the refilling steps carefully, and check for leaks every single time. Propane is an incredibly useful fuel, but it demands respect. Cutting corners or rushing the process isn't worth the risk. Take the time to evaluate your propane strategy. Calculate how much you're actually spending on those disposable bottles over a year. Add up the waste you're creating. Then compare that to the cost and environmental impact of switching to refillables. The numbers speak for themselves. Whether you're gearing up for your next camping adventure, preparing for winter power outages, or building your long-term emergency supplies, make informed decisions about your fuel. Invest in the right equipment, learn to refill safely, and maximize every dollar you spend on propane.